Hey, Sox fans. Welcome to Good Guys Talk Back, a local fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast, hosted by Nick Murawski and Pat Hester.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to Good Guys Talk Back. This is episode 314. I'm Nick Murawski. And if you're joining us live, to subscribe and get all the notifications set up on that Good Guys Talk Back YouTube channel. We do this live on Sunday nights at 9:15, but of course the audio available absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us. We've got all kinds of White Sox stuff to talk to, some unfortunate stuff that we'll definitely unpack. It really hit me, as I think it hit all Sox fans, the news of Bobby. We'll get to that rather quickly, but welcome back to the podcast. My best friend, diehard White Sox fan, busy man, Pat Hester. Good to have you, sir, on the program once again.
Nick, it's good to be back. Sorry for being away for the last couple of weeks. I'm sure many people were sad. I didn't get many letters in the mail, maybe from the holiday weekend, but I'll look tomorrow. I'm sure I've gotten a lot of responses to my absence, but they were for good reasons. We went out the Shanahan 9U Coach Lara team, a couple championships, back-to-back weekends, winning tournaments, basically, kicking ass and taking names, Nick. And the season has now come to a close, and that's how you want to end the season, on top, champion.
Yeah, that is outstanding. I love that you feel like your absence would be brought forth through letter. That people were going to be sending you letters. I feel
like a lot of people would write me like handwritten notes.
Maybe a Western Union telegram. Just hello, Pat. Stop. It has been so tough without you. Stop. When are you coming back? Stop.
Do those people still exist? I think that'd be a great part-time job. That'd be a job that I think Nick Murawski probably should have had at some point.
I never was a courier or worked in the telegram or singing telegram. There's something that would have been fun at your doorstep, Pat. Somebody just singing your absences, but no, I never did that.
I'm gonna look into that. See if I can get somebody to stop at my door and read me the Western Union style letter.
This is a gentleman in Pat Hester that has not a lot of free time, but in the free time he does have, he's going to look into Western Union, and if the telegram is still something that is available, so. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you back, and congratulations to your son and to all the little leaguers. Love to hear that baseball's alive and well with the youth. That's great to know that.
Yeah, I mean that's the fun part for me as a fan to see. My own kids having a passion for the game and love for the game, and it makes me wonder what's going on in other households where, people are, I have my kids all, most of them play video games and have things going on outside of sports. But I mean, my 5-year-old will sit down and watch a baseball game with me. Definitely my 9-year-old will. I mean, my kids like baseball, and it's hard for me to imagine that there's people out there that have concern about baseball, especially when you look at what's happening in travel sports. I mean, it seems to be as popular as ever. I mean, there's just a ton of kids playing the game, and these organizations make a ton of money. There's these sports domes that are being put up and facilities that are being put up all over the place. I was down in Bradley, Illinois 2 weeks ago. Beautiful new facility down there if you haven't been there. So it tells me that, there still is a bright future, I think, for kids playing the game of baseball if the travel part doesn't get in the way of, playing other sports and being exposed to other things. I think that's probably more the detriment to the game is that, kids are playing so much and there's that burnout factor after a while. But needless to say, around my community, baseball is still very important to the youth.
That's awesome. That is exciting to hear. And We're glad to have you back. Hello to Steve and Sydney, John, and Sean. So great to have you with us here on this Sunday night. Our Chicago White Sox, the 2025 Southside Warriors, 90 games into this season. They are 30-60, a nice clean 30-60. Easy to do the math on that with games under. Speaking of games under, Sox are 26.5 games back in that forgiving Central. Detroit is really putting their foot on the throats of all in the Central. Sox have the second worst record in all of baseball. Sox were on the road this past week. Awful stuff out in LA, although there were they made it close in some situations, but LA is just LA. They're going to absolutely find their way, and they should with the type of team that they've got. Sox took 2 of 3 from the Colorado Rockies, but that's nothing you put on your resume. Nor is beating the Sox anything a team should put on their resume. That's like, I mean, you're in a position of power, Pat. You've probably interviewed.
Am I? Am I moonlighting at something I wasn't aware of?
I thought. Well, you've interviewed people, right? You've combed over resumes. I mean, it's like if somebody has juggling on their resume. If they beat the White Sox, you don't talk about it.
It's interesting. First,
if you talk,
if you put it first on the resume, like if you have it at the end, it says special skills. And you want to toss in juggling, or maybe you've been part of a variety show or something like that. Fine. I'm okay with that. That shows that you have a personality. But if you're putting it first, I may not go much further than that.
Yeah. So it's like beating the Rockies. That's not first on the resume. That's maybe on page 2, somewhere in the bottom of like extracurricular. Oh yeah. We took 2 or 3 from the Rockies, buried somewhere in finer print. And that's the case for when somebody takes care of the White Sox right now. Sox absolutely awful on the road, man. I think worst team in baseball win percentage wise, 11-36 on the road. Man,
it's not going to get it done. I mean,
is that good?
It's not going to work.
Is that bad? Really? Yeah.
Something that, or maybe you have it in your notes, but it's something that I heard, and I'm sure it's been talked about, but I look at it as somewhat of a positive when you're talking about, again, very negative stats. They're the worst in the league in losing 1-run games. I think they've lost 25, maybe 26 games now by a run. They're not getting their doors blown off. I remember last year. Again, we can compare this year to last year. The game's different. The game differential between last year and this year is not large. They are better this year than they were last year, but it just seemed like there was embarrassment happening on a day in and day out basis. I know the run differential is still not going to be where you need it to be a successful team, but that's some promise, I think, there, Nick, because they're in a lot of games. They're not being embarrassed. They show that maybe they deserve to be on the same field as some teams. There's teams like, as you mentioned, versus the Dodgers, where they don't belong in the same state. But again, there's some things you can glean out of those negative stats. Like, okay, there, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But listen, it could be worse, and I think that's a promising stat, even though it's again, worst in baseball in terms of a record that they hold currently.
Yeah, that is, if you could compartmentalize, this is how I look at it. That's all fine and well. I get it. That means that we've kind of been in some games. We just haven't been able to, we just don't have that extra thing in a lot of different ways to get us over the finish line. But I want to know who's contributing to the wins. That's because I need to see the future contributing to the wins. Is this a part of the TWTW from Will Venable and his staff? Is that a difference maker there? Or is it just the types of guys that we have here? Shane Smith, is he going to be around? So some of these other guys that we'd been getting help from, I'd like to believe, and I want to hope that the production that we're getting, where we're seeing, oh, okay, we're keeping things close. I think in terms of run differential, the Sox might be fourth or fifth worst. Okay, so they're not bottom of the barrel, but they're definitely around there. Those guys that have been helping to make it feel close and different, I sure hope we're getting it from guys that are in our future. And I think it's a little bit of both, column A and column B. Guys that might not be around, and guys that, hey, it's exciting. They want to be here, and the Sox want them to be here, and we've got something to build around.
Well, that's something that you bring up that's interesting. You talk about exciting. The thing that I think has maybe pacified us as fans this year is the guys that are making their major league debuts, and I think now that Colson Montgomery's up, I think he's 8th or 9th guy this year to make his major league debut with the team, which is almost amazing. It's like, oh, they're bringing up this guy, they're bringing up that guy. This is new, it's fresh. You're kind of get excited. I was excited to hear that Colson Montgomery was coming up because he'd been, the jewel of our farm system for so long, and then had gone down a different path and been sent down. And it's a great story for him to come back up, and nice soft landing spot for him to come up in, and playing the Rockies on the road, and give him an opportunity to have some success, which he did. So I think that's part of it, Nick, is the freshness and newness that seems to happen on a day in and day out a day in and day out basis with this team. Is it's going to look different on most nights because the guys are bringing up and featuring to you.
Yeah. And I hope it's not just, we're just going to, when they were brought up under Pedro, they didn't see playing time.
No.
And maybe we had guys that weren't that as exciting, of course, but you wanted to see, what is this guy going to be able to prove?
Yeah.
What does he have for the White Sox in terms of value for the future and the decisions we're going to have to make in the offseason and beyond? Give him some playing time. And I think it's gone a little differently with Will Venable and maybe Chris Getz. That's part of his philosophy and his team. If we're bringing guys up, we want to see the youth. We want to see them playing in the position that they should be playing, hopefully, and not just a pinch runner. Let's get him out there. And Colson Montgomery, we're going to talk about him, of course, later in this episode. Pretty impressive. I mean, I am really, I'm riding the brakes on my excitement. I'm just letting it play out. But that was, again, against the Rockies, the juggling of your resume. But that's pretty nice. I like seeing that. That was exciting for him.
Yeah, it was good to see. I'm excited to talk more about him and see the development as he goes through the ups and downs of this back half of this year.
All right. Tough stuff here. Got to get to it, though. It's important stuff. And I think we're going to, this is Sox therapy. And we were really dealt a blow in Sox Nation with some tragic news that, came through today, although I believe it happened on July 4th. It wasn't a shock, but just terrible in general, the whole situation of it. We, of course, have known for a while now that Big Bobby Jenks has been battling stage 4 cancer, I believe stomach cancer, and found out that Bobby lost his battle at the age of 44, left behind, I think, 6 kids. White Sox legend, hero, whatever you want to call him, he will always hold such a powerful place in the history books. And as we're embracing the 2005 anniversary, you can't talk about it without mentioning Bobby Jenks. And he was just recently featured in the second episode of 05 Forever, that YouTube doc, that 4-episode docu-series, I guess. And your thoughts, Pat? I mean, what was kind of initially kind of rattling around your heart and your head when you heard about the passing of Big Bobby Jenks?
Yeah, it's extremely sad, and thoughts and prayers to his family and who is survived by him. It's cancer, everybody's got somebody that they know that probably has it or has had it or has battled themselves. And obviously, Bobby with stage 4, the writing was on the wall as that was announced. So as you mentioned, not a shock, but it when those kinds of things happen, and the I guess I don't want to say the enjoyment, but the part that I really enjoyed was, seeing the folks on social media talk about him, and the AJ, when I think it was the pregame show the other day, and was speaking with Chuck and Ozzie about it, and just what he meant to that ball club, and what those players said about him, what a great teammate he was, and how humble he was, and what he meant to the franchise in relatively a short time. It wasn't like he was with the team for 15 years. It was a short time that he was around, but what an impactful player he was. And what I think about as well is, he was a guy that, was given a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and you mentioned that 05 Forever docuseries that's been on. Kenny Williams talked about it. Or was it Kenny or Ozzie that mentioned, look at that guy over there.
Kenny, yeah.
Kenny. Pointing out to Bobby all the guys that have had second chances, and Bobby got a second chance, and he took advantage of his second chance. And people have battled a lot of different things as he did, and it's just sad, not just because he was a great White Sox player, and we all enjoyed watching him play, but it's sad when those kind of things come to an end. And for me, someone that just turned 44, I mean, he's left us too soon at the age of 44. So that's also another thing that hits home a little bit. And yeah, it's a sad time, especially as you mentioned, as we're kind of celebrating this 05 team throughout the year, and him being such a big part of it, and he won't be around now for any of these upcoming big days that are coming. I don't know if he was scheduled to be around the ballpark at all, but I'm sure they'll have a nice moment of silence for him at their first home game. And it's unfortunate. So yeah, quite sad to hear that news the other day.
Yeah, it gives me chills just thinking about it. What could have been. Howard mentioned in the chat, I put it up here on the stream, that he had planned to be at the reunion. I think Saturday, July 12th is when there might be like an official team reunion, although I think players are going to be around all weekend long, of course, with the unveiling of the Burley statue on Friday, and then there's the replica giveaway on Saturday, and then the Four Horsemen, as I like to call it, bobblehead on Sunday. I'll be at Sunday's game with our main man, Eric Carlson. Wow. So I'm looking forward to everything that next weekend has to offer, but it is going to come with some somber, just quiet, reflective, sad. There's going to be that cloud of sadness, but hopefully we can kind of counter it with all the joy, the remembering of Bobby. Here is a quote from the captain, Paul Canerco, on Bobby Jenks. Everybody remembers him as a big guy and tough competitor who can throw 100, but he was really a big teddy bear off the field. Bobby was such a big part of our success and was on the mound at the end of the game for some of the biggest wins in White Sox history. He truly will be missed by all. Big Bobby Jenks, a member of the White Sox, 2005 all the way through 2010, where he had 27 saves in 2010, went on to the Boston Red Sox in 2011, didn't do much at all for them, just 19 games. Was a manager of the Windy City Thunderbolts, if I'm not mistaken, for a few seasons. 173 saves, of course, the 05 championship with us. Back-to-back All-Star selections, 2006, 2007. Back-to-back seasons with 40-plus saves. Retired 41 straight batters in 2007. I remember that. Specifically. That was a rough go, but that 41 straight batters and then 5 saves in 7 postseason games. Of course, made his debut at that young age of 24 in the summer of 05. And he was the third leg in that triple leg closer relay race, whatever was going on for the White Sox. You had Shingo Takatsu that started things off. You had Dustin Hermanson that went down to injury, and then here comes Bobby Jenks. And wow, what a force he was, because they say in the doc, people weren't throwing 100 miles per hour with ease at that point. And it was a real, what this guy, what's going on here? It was such a weapon to have. And he had that nasty curveball that fell off the table. He'd pump you with 99, 100, and then that bender just almost dirty, absolutely dirty. And then of course, one of the big remembrances, and they modeled the Ozzie Guillen bobblehead that's going to be coming out in I believe August, of Guillen with his arms stretched out, calling for the big man, needing the big man out of the dugout. And before all this news, and when I was thinking about the reunion, I was thinking, Pat, wouldn't it be cool, like whenever they're doing the big reunion, maybe it's on Saturday, they're bringing all the players out onto the field, and Guillen gets called last, and he makes the sign to the bullpen, and Bobby comes running out. How cool would have that? I just was thinking about it the other day. Like that would be awesome if they could do it, something like that. And maybe they'll find a cool way to still, make sure he is very present. And in the chat, people are talking about patches. There has to be a patch. There's got to be a lot of 45, a lot of Bobby Jenks love, especially next weekend.
Yeah, that would have been really cool to see. It's unfortunate we won't be able to see it, but it'll be nice to see the way they honor him. Yeah.
Sydney's got it here. And I saw it a lot on social media. The Rockies did something nice on their Jumbotron. The Cubs did something really nice, a little tribute for Bobby. He was, didn't have a long career, but if you played a role in that 2005 season, and you just the remembrance. I mean, Bobby Jenks had a bobblehead. During the I think it was the 10-year reunion. I was living in Washington D.C. at the time, and I had some friends that we made in D.C., and they liked to go around and travel to different ballparks. And they were going to Chicago. They were like, we're going to be going back to your hometown. We're going to go into Chicago. It's just a crazy weekend where the Cubs and Sox are, they both have home games. We're going to check out both stadiums. Well, they were giving away the Bobby Jenks bobblehead during their visit. And they came back, and they knew how big of a White Sox fan I was. And they're like, we don't, it's not that we don't want them. It's not like they're garbage or anything, but this means 1,000 times more to you than it does to us. And it's him, of course, in that pose of jumping, up and down on the mound after that last out from Uribe to Paul. And whew, man, it's just, it's just sad for a lot of different reasons. Not only the baseball stuff, but the life stuff, what he leaves behind and everything, but and how hard he fought to kind of get his life turned around. And big Bobby Jenks, rest in peace.
No doubt about it.
Sox, they finally called up Colson Montgomery, or Pat, they called up Colson Montgomery. Were you surprised that okay, before the All-Star break, we're doing the Colson Montgomery thing, or did it not matter to you? Did you have anything in your brain about when this could be happening, or when you felt like it'd be the right time?
I don't know if there is a right time. From what I understand, and again, I wasn't following his day in and day out successes or failures down in the minors. From what I understand, he had put a couple of good weeks together, and I think if you're going to pick a time to bring a kid up, bring him up when he's hot, and bring him up when he's on the road, and bring him up when you're playing the absolute worst team in baseball. Again, like I talked about before, the soft landing for him to come in and kind of, he's probably facing guys that he's somewhat familiar with, like he's probably seen a lot of these guys in the minors before. So he probably feels somewhat comfortable coming up into that situation. And it worked out pretty well for them. I mean, he came in, he didn't have any hits in the first game, but made a spectacular play in the field. He reached, I believe, by catcher's interference. Then he comes in and gets a triple and some more hit. I think he was 2 or 3 hits in his second game and 3 hits today. So, producing right off the bat. And that's nice to see. I don't know for these guys when the best time to bring him up is, but it seemed to me to make sense timing wise when one, he was hot down in the minors, and two, you're giving him a good play. You bring him up against the Dodgers. Maybe that's too big of a stage for him, right? You're playing, one of the best teams in baseball, regardless of, the Dodgers aren't playing their best baseball right now. They've got some guys on the IL. Maybe not the Dodgers that we'll see once October comes around, but you're going to play in front of a crowd of, 45 to 50,000 people in Dodger Stadium, a lot going on, a lot of noise. You fast forward, you can go to, your debut in Colorado. Again, good sized crowds, but not nearly going to be maybe the jitters that you would feel. So I don't have a problem with the timing of it. I don't have a problem if, he struggles up here and that kind of thing. I don't want to see guys. I don't know if it's right to have these guys at this point yo-yo back and forth between the minors. You brought them up. This is the best experience they're going to get. You don't really have, a pennant to play for. So continue to try and develop them at this level, unless it just gets so bad that you don't have any other choice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's more of a timing thing when they look at stuff. He was coming up; it was going to happen this year, and not against the Dodgers. Typically, you'd like it at home. Set this guy up for success. But to your point, it's the Rockies. So let's see what you can do here. Maybe a hitter-friendly park, kind of get his confidence up a little bit. And then you come home for a nice homestand before the All-Star break, where you can kind of just reset and say, okay, I had my taste there. Let's analyze that a little bit. Let's think about it. Take a breath, okay? Because your heart, your emotions, your adrenaline, things are going a mile a second, if that's right. Is that fast? That's fast.
Yeah.
And take a beat, and then, okay, analyze, and then you get on the road to Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. So I like it. Yeah, he flashed the leather. Look, he was 3 for 5 in his second career game, man. Yeah, he was goose egg in the first game, but 3 for 5. That was the Cannon game, which I liked. It was good to see Jonathan Cannon feeling more comfortable. I thought he pitched very well, but the talk was, of course, all about Colson, and this was Will Venable. It was awesome. Venable's set of Montgomery's second game. He put some really good swings on some pitches with the quality of at bats. Happy that he got his first knock, and obviously with some slug there. It was a great day for Colson. Hey, he was 5 for 10 in the series, Pat. 2 RBIs, a couple walks, and a couple Ks.
Yeah.
So
even I know that's 500.
I will not quiz you, but you got it. You passed.
Okay.
Excellent.
Good. Got it. Awesome.
I mean, I'm not going to overreact.
No,
I'm not going to probably underreact. I'm like, just let this dude play.
Yeah.
Let him play. We've been hearing about him for years and years. We know about the injuries. We know about the, sending down to Arizona and to get things right. And look, it's not going to be just him. It's going to be a lot of different players that are all going to have to be pulling from the same side of the rope, with help from a lot of outside folks that hopefully the money's allocated that way in the next few seasons, some luck. But it's he, I think, is going to be an important part, at least what I'm sure the White Sox are intending.
Well, they should. I mean, where they, based on where they drafted him, he should be part of their future and part of their mix, and hoping that they can get. Listen, somebody that they've drafted, that they've grown and developed, has to turn into a star if this team is going to do anything in the next 3 or 4 years. He's got the most potential, based on his pedigree and where he was drafted. He's the one that you've got to look at and go, this is our next potential star. And, we thought, the superstar was the guy that's currently on the IL. That chapter is seemingly closed and is almost behind us. But this new chapter with this new group of young players, somebody's got to hit and somebody's got to be a star. Not everybody's going to be a hit, and not everybody's going to be on this team in the next 3 or 4 years, depending upon how you shape this roster going forward. But he's the golden egg, I think. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I'm not saying he's going to be, but this organization has to believe that he is going to be that next superstar level type player if you want to eventually get to where you want to go.
Yeah, no one's expecting. Well, I mean, I'm sure people want it, but no one's assuming Bobby Witt Jr. or anything, like, not even close to that. But if we can have a guy that's got some offensive pop, man, and that could just be exciting, and we're going to talk about the Cubs for just a little bit towards the end, because I know you had told me some stuff when we got together for lunch a couple weeks ago about there's just this like building volcanic toxicity towards Cub fans, this, that, and the other. And I'm starting to get it a little bit too. Just some jabs, I'm catching some body blows.
Yeah.
And nothing to the head right now, but I feel like soon there's going to be, folks are going to be going for the head. They're going for the knockout punch.
Yeah.
Right now it's just been body jabs. And it's just, Crow PCA, Crow Armstrong, this and that. And hey, the Cubs have got some fun guys. There's no denying it. They've got some fun guys on their team. It's exciting guys. That's what I want. Give me some guys that are playing with that energy. They're stepping up in big opportunities. They're making early memories and moments and something for us to talk about. That would be nice. I don't have numbers. I don't have specific numbers for Colson Montgomery of what I ultimately want from him, but that excitement though, that like he's living up to kind of the hype that I guess was created for him. Maybe we all created, whatever it is, just please be it, fill those shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Something to every day you're looking at a highlight, right? I want to see what this guy did last night, because you mentioned PCA. I mean, he's doing something on a nightly basis that people are paying attention to, and rightfully so. He's going to get a lot of seemingly MVP votes, and he's going to be in an all-star game. And those are the types of players that we're longing for, right? We've gotten by a little bit on, okay, this guy came up and Elko hits a home run, and let's watch that and live that. But they're so short-lived, and there's nothing, there's no substance to it, because there's nothing that really means anything for this year in terms of, where the team's going. But eventually we need to get to that point where we're contending and we're kind of behind one or two guys that are doing special things on a night in and night out basis, not just a once in a while type of thing.
Yeah, the Sox, 30 games under 500, seller of the Central, second worst team in all of baseball. Detroit's the only team in the division that has an above 500 record. They've got a 13.5 game lead over Minnesota. Minnesota's 4 games under 500.
Whew.
KC, 5 games under 500. Cleveland, 8 games under 500. Now, I hate to say, this is the quote unquote, the very forgiving AL Central, but it just feels sometimes like you don't have to do much. Don't take it for granted. Don't just sit back and think the division is going to be given to you. But when you look around, who else is very aggressive in this division? Nobody's spending money. There are smart teams and very smart front offices, but it shouldn't take you that long to get back into the running of the AL Central.
You wouldn't think so. I mean, it's proven that way for many years. It's the Twins have always been very, I don't know if I want to call it diligent, or they've got a way that they go about and build their teams. And they, for a long time, they, for when you and I were younger and watching the Sox and the Twins play, they built a team based around the Metrodome.
Yeah.
They just, picked you apart, and they found ways, and they just made it happen. And it gives you nightmares to think about. I've talked about it many times. The Guardians have done it in a way of having a fantastic system, and they sell guys before they have to pay them, specifically pitchers. And they just seem to have the conveyor belt of who's the next great pitcher that's going to come up through the organization. And they've been able to, for the most part, up until, this year, and you mentioned it, nobody else over 500 have been able to really be a thorn. So it's those two teams. But my goodness gracious, you would think that with maybe being a little bit smarter and also investing a little bit, the White Sox should, if easy for us to say, right? But if they were able to do it with some spending of some money and also
capital infusions, that's what we need right now, Pat.
And also being able to scout properly and find the right guys that fit your organization. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't, as a team in Chicago, win the division 5 out of every 10 years. I mean, that shouldn't even be that hard, I wouldn't think, half the time. Is that crazy to say? I know they haven't done it, but
that you should have such high aspirations and goals, and you should walk a little taller. You are in Chicago. Okay, you should be second to nobody.
Yeah.
Big time market, deep fan base. Fans will show up when you put a product. Stop with this you don't need to build a new stadium. Build a new team. Invest in your team, and people will show up. They will flock to that stadium. Okay? That place will be packed if you put a contending team. And you've got a plan, and this isn't just a flash in the pan. We are building a machine here. Okay. Yeah.
And you talk about building it. I mean, you can't have these one-offs where you're good and then you're bad for several years, because
correct.
You can't and as you know, as a former or current or whenever they held your money hostage, season ticket holder, that's where it's at for baseball teams, is they have to start to grow their season ticket base, because they need that on a night in and night out base. They need to be able to count on that. And you can't build that season ticket base if you're not able to consistently win. And I mean,
and that comes through marketable players too.
Yeah.
PCA is extremely marketable, like a lot of those 2016 guys were for the Cubs.
Yeah.
And the Sox thought they had some marketability. They thought Moncada and Robert and, Kopech and Giolito and Cease and Eloy. Oh, this is going to be a cash cow. These guys are going to be around. They're going to be major players in all of baseball and stars on the South Side. And we are going to be able to build this young fan base up, and the merchandise is going to be flying off the shelves. I mean, who's marketable? I don't think Luis Robert Jr. is marketable at all. I mean,
not anymore.
he's got the deepest skill set. He's got a resume on this club. He's got the potential, of course, the flash. He's got the star power, but he's on the shelf, and I don't know when we're going to see him next. Mid-July. With this left hamstring strain, another soft tissue issue.
At this point, who cares? I mean, I don't mean to be so.
For him, who cares?
Yeah.
But for Colson Montgomery, for Teal, for Caro, for Cannon, for Taylor. I mean, I hope these guys become, some rising stars. And going back to the top of the podcast, we were talking about, your son and, Little League and, baseball's alive among youth. Well, I hope young Sox fans get some real players, some tangible players that have skill and talent and durability to get behind. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, because again, you need star players that make, not just go out there and play, but flash, because that's what draws people. That's what you can market, and people that have a little personality, that helps as well. I mean, it seemed like people fell in love with that, the Abreu teams and the Tim Andersons because of the swag. Oh, we got our shirts open big, and we've got big chains, and we've got Fu Manchu beard going on here, and it was all substance, and it was,
all sizzle no steak,
no steak, all frosting no cake, something like that.
Oh boy!
You ever hear that?
You ever have one of those nothing bunt cakes with that frosting, that cream cheese
gracious?
That is, I don't mind it. Just, you can throw most of the cake away or hand it off to somebody. I'll just take the frosting in that situation. So
that's true, but it's true. But otherwise, you just have a glob of stuff. I mean, you need something to hold up the front. You need a foundation.
I'm with you.
I'm talking to a person that's a big, you wouldn't know it by looking at you because you're in such fantastic shape.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I would die to look like you, but but cake.
I do. I'm very familiar with it. I've had many of them. Sometimes multiples in one holiday.
Big dessert guy, for those that don't know. Big fan of dessert.
This was the dessert for the 4th. This is my go-to as of this year. The Costco cherry pie. It's the size of a tire, and it is absolutely delicious. Sometimes you'll get these cherry pies, and God bless the people that are making them, homemade, bringing them to parties. The crust is a little burnt. It's crumbly. Things are dry. Oh, not Costco's cherry pie. Oh,
what do you do that little a la mode, or you do a little just a Cool Whip, or a little?
That's the beauty. That's the straight. I don't need.
Oh, look at you, big man over there. Straight cherry pie.
Straight. And you are just fine.
Okay.
So yeah, build a team around cherry pie. Sorry, boy, I got all sweaty there, and I
didn't know we'd go off. I didn't know you were that.
I
didn't know first of all, I've never met anybody that's that big a fan of cherry pie.
Oh yeah.
Let alone, I find out, we've known each other a long time, and I find out more about you at this podcast than I ever thought I would understand.
I have many layers, many layers. So, and I've slowly, kind of unveiled the layers to you and to our audience, and there's more.
Well, we have a big golf trip coming up at the end/beginning of next month. You'll probably be the 8 guys when we go out to dinner that will order a dessert.
Yeah, I mean, I usually like to order for the table, just because people don't know what they're doing.
Some people order wine for the table. Next, I'll take care of the dessert for everybody.
They don't know what they're talking about. Just talk to me, please. Let me know the specials. I'll handle all this. Yeah, I'll probably handle that, and stuff to bring home. A little something in the morning with your coffee. It's always a nice thing. All right. Hey, let's talk a little about this 05 team. The reunion weekend's coming up here, which is exciting stuff. It looks like there's a placement for the Mark Burley statue. If I'm looking at the social media post by the White Sox, correct, there's like a large box, Mark Burley stats picture. It looks like it's next to Harold Baines. Can anybody else verify that's listening, that's maybe on the stream right now, it looked like from the photos it's going to be placed next to Harold Baines. I thought it was going to be perfectly placed between Frank and Paulie. There looked like there was an opening over there.
Yeah.
And you have a low 5 cluster. That doesn't look like what's happening right now. Kind of over by where the red line, that train car, it used to be where the goose was.
Okay.
Over there in right field. Looks like that's where it's going to go.
Okay. Interesting. Did they do it in alphabetical order? Baines, Burley, maybe something like that. I don't know.
Interesting. You'd think they'd go by number, not necessarily by surname, but maybe it's just wherever they can fit them. I guess it depends on the design, but I can't wait. This is a long time coming. I'm excited for this weekend. Are you caught up on the 05 Forever doc?
I am. It drops every Thursday, right? So we're through 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And the last one with the backstory on Don't Stop Believing, which I thought was a little bit more than I needed, but it was good. It was fun, lighthearted story. I would like to just hear more about
too much frosting. Yeah,
not enough cake for me, but it's okay. I'm not a complainer. You know me. I'm not normally a complainer. I just like to be entertained.
Yeah.
And I was entertained by it.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby was featured. They talked about that whole thing and just how that came about and what made him so different. And I like the backstory on Don't Stop Believing because of the camaraderie it brought.
Yeah.
You need a hook, man. In a season where you're together for 8+ months, grinding it out, and you just need stuff. I remember in high school, you'd find stupid little stuff and any little inside joke or something you could rally around to keep some morale up when you're traveling after school to different cities to play baseball. And, it's a grind. And if you could just have something that brings just something that gels, that gets everybody kind of on the same page. I loved hearing that, it was, it was shouted out during in a road game, and they were playing it on the PA, and that to me is that what makes that team so enjoyable. That B-side stuff, that stuff that off the field. It's like, what made you guys click? Well, it was all the hanging around and the inside stuff and the jokes and personalities. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I guess the interesting part about it for me was the fact that the fans caught up on it pretty quickly and that it got out without, that was before a lot of social media was really available to people. So, fans heard about it and then it kind of spread like wildfire. So maybe I'm just being a little too hard on it, I guess. But
yeah, not a complainer, my butt.
Not really a complainer, Nick.
So, social media, you talk about social media, and man, that was not a thing, not even like MySpace, if I remember correctly. So you had to go to ESPN. ESPN was such an important source of getting all those highlights and updates. There was a beginnings of Comcast Sportsnet, right? There was like a little sports center type thing that Comcast used to do, right?
I think so. I think that's true.
Little highlights, something in the evening where they would do half hour of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really the bottom line, the ticker, all those like talking head shows, and of course the radio. And ESPN has just been a thorn in our sides for so long, just forgetting about the 05 sec. There was something that happened today with Bobby Jenks, right? That you wanted to talk about. What was that all about?
I saw this come across my Twitter feed, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to you, and it irritated me. They put ESPN put a post out about, Bobby Jenks, 2-time All-Star pitcher from the Chicago White Sox, who was on the roster and when the franchise won the 2005 World Series. And just mentioning that he was on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, he was our closer. He was
how about on the mound?
Standing on the mound and when they won it all. And
yeah,
it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's very lazy of a a company like that to just flippantly throw out something and just say he happened to be on the roster that season. He was much more than that. He was the man, and he pitched in a lot of not only World Series games, but he pitched in a lot of high leverage games and closed a lot of games for us. And if you think about it, Nick, with how important bullpens are, and I know we, in that season through the playoffs, nothing is comfortable in the playoffs, but you go 11-1, it feels a little bit when looking back on it, it's like, oh, that was seemingly look pretty easy, but you've got to have confidence in a bullpen guy and especially a closer, especially the third one that you're bringing up from the minor leagues that you don't really know much about, and you're putting a lot of faith and confidence in this guy. Yeah, I think back to after Game 2 when he blew the save in Game 2 against Houston. And then you had the infamous walk-off by Scotty Pods in that ninth inning. And the first person that Ozzie looked for after that was Bobby, and saying, I'm going back to you tomorrow, so be ready. And he's more important than that tweet, put out there. And it really just didn't do him service to say he was just happened to be on the roster like he was just another guy. It really irritated me, and it's laziness of, who's ever doing that. And somebody put a reply at, this is AI at its best, and it probably is. What used to be a very, I had a lot of respect for people that are journalists and looking for stories. Now it's all about how fast can I get this out? I'm going to use AI to do it. And it doesn't matter if I'm right anymore. I'm just going to I want to be the first. And if I'm wrong, I'll redact it and apologize later. It just, the whole industry just seems like, I don't know. It irritated me as a person that has a mass communications degree. Not that I'm a journalist or anything like that, but it really bothered me as a White Sox fan.
Yeah, I think AJ Brzezinski retweeted and kind of went after ESPN and only the way that AJ can. But yeah, just to the effect of he wasn't just on the team. He was a huge part of it. He was on the freaking mound. And he was on that 08 team when they won the division. That was AI, I'm sure, lazy, but almost like, wow, like there's no heart in that.
Yeah,
no heart in that. Like, give him the respect he deserves. So, really unfortunate. But thank you for bringing that to my attention.
I try to add something to the show when I'm on.
You do.
When I show up.
I think a few days ago, maybe last week, they did a boat cruise. And like you were, as a fan, you were able to do a boat cruise with members of the 05 team. Who would you want to do a boat cruise with? Who would you have liked to cruise around with? Maybe on the Chicago River, you take that little like hour and a half cruise, go up by Navy Pier, circle back, past Dick's Resort, Last Resort. You're circling around.
I'd like to go. I'd like to hang out with the guys that were in the bar singing, Journey. Like that seems fun to me. Like that little group, Rowan, that Greedy.
AJ.
Yeah, that
with AJ Brzezinski once.
I did play golf with AJ Brzezinski, which was fun. Great guy, very affable, fun to hang out with. But I'd like a little more. But yeah, I mean those just really just seem like just guys, down to earth people that'd be cool to hang out with. Because again, that team wasn't built or they didn't have stars on that team. So most of them are just a bunch of dudes. And I think that, that group was probably the loosey goosey, have fun type guys.
Yeah, I would want to cruise around with somebody that's going to give stories, that's going to open up and kind of give some insight more than that, we can access ourselves. And of course, I would love to cruise around with Paulie. He'd be my guy, but this is off the roster. But I think getting a couple vodkas, Tito's and Hawk Harrelson.
Oh,
I think that would be one hell of a boat cruise.
yeah.
He just waxing. If as long as we could keep him on track, and he's not going off on, the million different tangents that he can. Just try to keep it on. Let's keep it on 05 Hawkaroo.
Okay.
Right on here, man. This is your alley. Now, what do you really think of DJ? Just pepper some of those in here and there.
We should be honest more, Hawk.
That would be fun. I don't know how much I would pay for something like that, but if that was offered, I'd put a bid in.
Now that would be a good time. Hawk is, he's obviously my favorite. A lot of people, not big fans.
Just like him. There's a lot of people that just can't stand him. I've heard from, Cub fans like, oh man, I'm so glad you don't have Hawk anymore. Like, A, you don't have a place to talk, and B, how dare you?
I wish Hawk in his heyday was the best to me as a fan. He was my favorite. As the years, go on and went on, like it does for everybody. You lose your fastball, and he was, to use his term, he was out there just with cunning and guile. And
what's that last? Yeah, I would say that last couple seasons. He pared down his schedule, and you could see it.
Yeah,
you could see it and you could hear it.
The Sox could do no wrong. It was the best roster that they've ever constructed, and every umpire sucked. That's pretty much what you got from Hawk the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. That's I wonder if he'll be involved in the reunion though. He was obviously he was at the parade, and he was the MC of that, and we'll see. Again, I'm looking forward to the weekend. I really am. Hopefully we'll see some people out there at the ballpark, as I always do. Great Sox fans in and around the ballpark, and it is going to be rocking, I hope. Good weather for the reunion weekend. We got a quote of the week coming up in just a moment from the man himself, Jerry Reinsdorf, on Big Bobby. But just something on the Cubs. I've had an opportunity to interact with some Cubs fans over the last few days, couple weeks, a lot of the gatherings in the neighborhood and such. And, I'm starting to get some jabs thrown at me.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I get it. There's a very fun team over there on the north side. This isn't our time right now on the south side. I don't know when it's going to be our time, but the next series is Cub Sox is on the south side in late July, and we'll see what happens. There's nothing more, especially the way the Cubs are going right now. Would I love to ruin it and destroy a weekend for them? It's tough to do. They've got a good team, a talented team, but that would be awesome. I'm sorry, I still think that way. It still bothers me. I know it bothers you. You're telling me recently, and I'm like, it hasn't. It just recently has gotten to me now. I wish it didn't, but damn, I need the Sox to play well.
Yeah,
that last July weekend.
Yeah, I don't know why just recently or why this year it's gotten to me, and it's just nothing mean spirited, but people really attacking a little bit of the why. I can't believe that you're a White Sox fan. How could you be a White Sox fan?
A little bit of that.
This is go to hell. I mean, this is America. Last I checked, so I'm going to root and love who I want to love, and give me a break.
I just would love in the middle of a hot dog bite on 4th of July. Just go to hell. Pat, why are you a Sox fan? Go to hell.
I mean,
just sitting in a lawn chair, just 4 hot dogs deep.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we've been we've been a laughing stock in terms of an organization. We seemingly can't get out of our own way. More missteps than steps in the right direction, and people throwing jabs at you for your fandom is I can't. It's hard for me to stomach anymore. And the people that, what bothers me the most, Nick, to be honest with you, and it's not like anything, again, mean spirited, are the people that say, why don't you just come on over? There's plenty of room on the bandwagon. I again, go directly to hell. I don't want any part of it. And for the company that I work for, the Yingling Company, fantastic place to be with as much advertising as we do. People go, oh, well, you should be a fan because of your company. I said, listen, love for him to do well. Cubs fans' money is just as green as anybody else's. So drink away is what I say. Get to Game 7 of the World Series and then you get your doors blown off, I hope.
I love it. And then go to hell if you haven't already.
And then right after the game, go directly to hell. Not only did you lose Game 7 of the World Series and you've got your crotch kicked in, I want you to go back to the hell you came from.
That is one. That's how you want to end. That's the old the ocean called and the running out of you or whatever. I think that would be such a great. This is a great ender.
Yeah.
It hasn't been anything mean spirited. Lovely. I've got some great people in my life that are Cub fans, and it's all in good fun. But I've just been getting caught with a couple jabs here and there, and there's nothing I can say, except for I don't know, go to hell, I guess.
Well, I mean, it used to be, Nick, when in our younger days, and we've talked about this before, you and I would go to battle a lot of nights with folks, not physically, but verbally.
There's a lot of verbal, yeah.
It never got physical with anybody. I mean, who would
want to come
after us?
Well, yeah.
But for me, I kind of put that away for a while. I kind of thought, well, I've matured, and I'm kind of past that in my life. Recently, it's come back, and I'm getting just a little ornery and old.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame us? It's just been tough. So it was mentioned earlier in the chat. Just white noise. Folks, it doesn't bother folks anymore, and I was kind of like that too. But now that the Cubs have something to chirp about this season, they're using it.
Yeah,
they didn't have anything to chirp about for kind of a couple of years, and now they do, and that's when it starts to sting and gets irritating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a quote of the week here coming up. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping in once again on this Sunday night. This was episode 314. Good to have Pat back with us, and subscribe to this podcast. Pass it along to other Sox fans that hopefully you have in your life. If you haven't already, like the stream, all that good stuff. It's available absolutely everywhere. We're on social media at Good Guys TB. So our quote of the week from the chairman, Jerry Reinsdorf, about the passing of Bobby Jenks. We have lost an iconic member of the White Sox family today, said Jerry Reinsdorf. None of us will ever forget that 9th inning of Game 4 in Houston, all that Bobby did for the 2005 World Series champions and for the entire Sox organization during his time in Chicago. He and his family knew cancer would be his toughest battle, and he will be missed as a husband, father, friend, and teammate. He will forever hold a special place in our hearts. Yeah. That's from Jerry Reinsdorf. Sad stuff, but hopefully the Sox do well by him, his family, and there is some great things in store for this reunion weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I have nothing to add to what Jerry said. Normally not a big fan of anything he says, but he was spot on there.
Joe jumped in on the podcast, Pat, a little late and wants to know what happened to your son's baseball team. He didn't hear the whole thing.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, 2 weekends in a row, back-to-back champions.
There you go.
I want to brag.
Well, go ahead.
We are power ranked in the state, number 1.
Okay.
Shanahan 9U, Coach Lara. So there you go. A little bragging
And are you are on the coaching staff? Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I'm one of several people. Yeah,
Do you have a polo and an embroidered?
Oh,
insignia
Nick,
polo?
I've got many hats that I wear.
You got the hat. All right. So you're official. Well, good.
I'm on the roster as listed as coach.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm
All
like
right.
Grady Sizemore of the coaching staff.
So that's what I was trying to get to.
Coach.
Who's the Grady Sizemore on that staff?
That would
excellent.
be me.
Okay. Well, congratulations again, and thanks, folks, so much for joining us once again. For Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.